Now let's begin with update email activity. So first of all, let's uncomment the else if part, which is corresponding to update email activity in the update profile activity. And we can just copy this update email activity. We can just copy it, and then we have to create a new empty activity. I will give it the name update email activity. Alright, and also let's open user profile activity. And scroll down to the part where we have defined the menus under on options item selected method, and here also we need to uncomment the else if part, which is for update email, so that the update email activity can be accessed. In the same way, open upload profile pic activity, and let's uncomment the update email part. Alright, and let's change the context here, and also just add finish at the end. In update profile activity, we have already done it. Let's just minimize it, and let's just copy these two methods on create options menu and on options item selected. And let's open update email activity, and outside the on create method, just paste it, and let me change the context. This will be update email activity. Alright, then let's get into the layout part, and let's make it scroll view. And add the background color. Then getting inside it, let's create one relative layout. Alright, then let's create another relative layout inside it. Here we will have the color as white, and then we will add some padding and margin. And let's have the ID as RL underscore email. We need to create two relative layouts. One is for showing the current email ID, and then we will allow the user to enter their password and authenticate themselves. If the user is authenticated, then in the second relative layout, we can let the user enter the new email ID and then update the email ID. It will be more clear when we create or finish this layout. Anyways, then getting inside it, we will create one text view. This is to show the heading. Then below that text view, we will create another text view, which will be like a label text. Alright, let's copy and paste this text view. And this text view will display the current email ID of the user. And let's add background to this text view. Then let's create another text view below this. This will be used as a label text for password. Then finally we will create one edit text which will let the user enter their password and verify themselves or authenticate themselves. Then finally we will add one button. This will be used to authenticate the user. We have done this many times, so I'm not going to explain everything to save some time. Then just close the relative layout and let's create a new relative layout. Here also we will keep the background as white and then we will add margin and padding. And let this layout be below the relative layout with ID RL underscore email. Alright, then getting inside this relative layout, I will just create one text view. And this text view, I can just copy it from the text views that we have created just now. And then change ID. And also we can just get rid of layout below since this is the first element inside the relative layout. So we don't have to specify layout below property for the first element. Then we can change the text. Alright. Then paste the text view once again, and we will make this text view as a label text for new email. Then let me copy one edit text that we have used for password, and we can paste it below this one, below this text view with the ID update email new. In this edit text, the user is going to enter the new email ID. So let's just make the required changes. Alright, then finally we can copy the button and paste it below this edit text. And then finally we can just copy progress bar from upload profile activity or any other activity that you want to. And let's paste it inside the first relative layout. That is the relative layout which is showing the old email ID. And also we can just change the parent layout to linear layout. Since we are not using much of the properties of relative layout, we just want two relative layouts inside it, so we can just change it to linear layout and then add orientation as vertical. And if you try to run the app now, you will not be able to do so because we have not created auth profile variable. So let's do that. Let's just declare one auth profile variable globally. Now if we open update email activity, the layout is there, but the buttons will not be working, but it's fine. And also if we open the update profile activity, we have update email button there as well. So let's open update profile activity. And let's uncomment the part where we have defined the update email button. And let's run the app now. And let's open update profile activity. And if we click on update email, then the update email activity opens up, so everything is fine. Anyways, then let's get back to update email activity. Then let's define some of the variables. Globally, let's start with Firebase user, then progress bar, then after that let's declare one text view variable also. This will be used to display the text whether the user has authenticated or not. Then let's declare two string variables to hold the old as well as the new email. and then we can declare the update email button. And to edit text, one edit text to take the input from the user, that is the new email. And the second edit text for password, which will be used for authentication. Then getting inside the onCreate method, we will just set the heading first. Then let's bind the views of all the variables that we have declared. Alright, and also in the beginning, let's disable the update email button. Because until the user has authenticated themselves, we are not going to allow the user to update their email. So there's no point letting the user or allowing the user click on update email button until they are verified. So we can just disable the update email button. And also let's disable the edit text for new email for the same reason that I have just now explained. We will enable them once the user has authenticated themselves. Alright, then let's obtain one instance of the Firebase authentication. And let's obtain the current user using the auth profile variable. Now the first thing we shall do is to set the old email ID of the user into the text view. So let's obtain the current or the old email ID and save it into string variable that we have defined globally. For that we will be using get email method along with the Firebase user. Alright. Then let's bind the view for the text view. And then finally we can set the text in that text view. Now before authenticating the user, we need to check if the Firebase user is null or not. If it is null, then we can just display one toast message and halt the further processing. In case the user is not null, then let's call one method reAuthenticate and let's pass the Firebase user variable. And then we can create this method. Under this method, we are going to authenticate the user or reAuthenticate the user before letting the user change or update their email ID. So let's bind the view for the verify user button. Then after that, we will set one new on-click listener for this button. And we will be needing one more string variable. So let's define one more global variable for string. Let's say user password. And we need to obtain the user password from the edit text. And using this password, we are going to reauthenticate the user. Let's check if the user has entered any password or not. If not, then we have to display the error. If the password was entered, then we can just start the progress bar. And then we can authenticate the user using the email ID and password. So for that, just use auth credential space credential equals email auth provider dot get credential. Now this method takes two parameters. First is the email ID, second is the password. So email ID is the current email ID or the old email ID, and password will be entered by the user. So we can just pass those variables. Then finally, Firebase user dot reAuthenticate within brackets we have to pass credential that we have just now created. Then add on complete listener. And let me just remove this at org.jetbrains.annotations.notnull. Anyways, let's set the visibility of the progress bar to gone now. If the control has passed to this method, that means the user is authenticated. Let's run the app once. Let me try to enter the password and authenticate. Alright, so progress bar is gone. So that means the user is authenticated. In that case, we can display one toast message as well to let the user know that password has been verified. And then we can set the text view to display that the user is authenticated. And then after that, we have to enable the edit text which we have defined for entering new email ID. We have to enable that, and also we have to enable the update email button, and we have to disable the edit text which is for password, because password has already been verified, so the user need not enter anything. And we have to disable the verify user button also. Alright. And if you just want to make it look better, you can change the color of the update email button. For that we can just use set background tint list. And then within bracket context compat dot get color state list. Then we have to give the context within the bracket, that is update email activity dot this, then comma. After that we can state the color that we want to use. Let's say dark green. And if you open the colors.xml, you can see the dark green color here. Alright, let's run the app now. And open update email activity. And you can see update email button is not accessible or is disabled. Let's enter the password and click on authenticate. And you can see we have the toast message and the text has changed. It shows you are authenticated. You can update your email now. Also the edit text is enabled now, as well as the update email button with a new color. Now let's define one on-click listener on the update email button, which is going to update the email. So under the on-click method, let's obtain the new email. Because this button will be clicked only after entering the new email. So let's check if the user has entered the new email or not. If not, then we have to display error. And also we have to check the pattern of the email, whether it is a valid email or not. And then we will have to check whether the old email matches the new email. In that case also we can show one error message that the old email cannot be the new email. Then finally we have to enable or display the progress bar. And then after that, let's call one method update email. In this method we are going to update the email. So let's just pass Firebase user. Then let's create this method. Let's create it in update email activity, the last one. Alright. And also it is better if we can enclose all the statements which we have defined under this on complete method within a if statement, because we need to check for errors also. So under this on complete method, which will be executed after re-authenticating the user, just select everything and cut it. And then create one if statement, and we will just check whether the task is successful or not. And then create one else part. If the task is successful, we can paste everything that we have just now cut. Alright, and then in the else part, we can use try statement to throw the exception, and then using the catch, we will catch the exception. Alright, I hope you are getting it. What I did is I selected all the statements which we have defined under onComplete method, and then I cut them and I created one if statement, and I checked whether the task is successful or not. If the task is successful, then I want all those statements to be executed, so I pasted them. Then I created one else part. In the else part, I'm looking for the exceptions and displaying them as a toast message. Then let's get into the update email method. Here I will use the Firebase user variable, then .update email method. This method will take only one parameter, that is the new email address. Then .add on complete listener. Then on complete, I will start with the if statement. And I'll check if task is complete. If the task is complete, we first need to send one email verification link to the user. And then I will display one toast message to let the user know that the email has been updated, but user has to verify it. And after that, I will use intent to start the user profile activity and close this update email activity. Now in the else part, we can again use try statement to catch the exceptions. And I will just display the exception in the toast message. If you want, you can write it in log file. Alright, then after the if and else, we can just set the visibility of the progress bar to be gone. Let's run the app now. And open update email. Let me enter the password and authenticate. User is authenticated, so the button and the edit text are enabled, and the authenticate button as well as the edit text for password are disabled. Let me enter one new email. And update. And you can see email has been updated. And the updated email is visible also. So that completes update email activity as well. Now in the next part, we are going to create one change password activity.